dies quickly. And now we have the last person we're going to talk about from the mass shooting incidents. I'm going to talk about the isolated veteran, Michael Paul Brown from Anaconda, Montana. And this also happened in 2025 in August. This all happened in the same year, one copycatting another. And this has to do a lot with untreated trauma. I'm a veteran myself, and I know what it is to have PTSD and live with it every day. It's constant suffering. It's trying to control all these emotions that attack you from different ways, in different forms. And in the process, you're trying to do all the things that other people do in their normal life, like pursuing a career, learning in academia, being a father, being a mother. It is hard to live with PTSD. But if one thing PTSD teaches you, it's how to be brave and how to humble yourself to grow. But unfortunately, Michael Paul Brown perhaps didn't get the proper help, the counseling, the therapy, the friend, the family love that he needed. His psychology, if we analyze it, was all about the paranoia or the paranoid externalization. His PTSD warped his isolation into a defensive war against the neighbors. He had the need to force the physical world to match the war zone inside of his own head. The chaos inside his head had to match his real life, to put it in better words. As you can see, there's a lack of adaptation here. Think about living in a constant battle in your head, not knowing how to silence or slowly control the triggers that come from it. What would this do to any one of us? How could we navigate with all that's in us and everything we think is complete chaos, and all we know how to do is to be defensive about it? I'll leave you with this question. If your mind was a war zone, would you seek peace, or will you look for another reason to shoot back because that's all you know and you don't know how to cope with your inner self? You haven't adapted to the fact that you're no longer the past and have therapy to live in the present. Cognitive dissonance, exposure therapy. If you see someone like this, will you able to recognize these behaviors and send help? We're not prepared to know what to do when we see someone with PTSD. We typically judge, and it's easier to judge than to help someone. And this brings me to the topic of the systematic failure and education. Plays a huge part on how we can prevent mass shooting in the United States or in the world. We have to accept the fact that we do have some responsibility. We cannot blame this solely on the shooters, as we normally do. How it's publicized on our channels, news, and people that perhaps don't understand how to solve this problem. But to start, is we need to educate ourselves on understanding the ecosystem these individuals grow in. And I'll give you a good perspective. I'm originally from the Bronx, and most of the people in the Bronx don't shoot for academia. And it's not because that's the choice they want to make. It's just that the example they actually got from home. That's the environment sometimes plays a huge role, because that's what you let yourself compare yourself to what you should be, because you don't see and you don't know any better. And this is where parenting is so important, especially at early age development. What are you exposing your kids to, if you have any? And we have to be honest, we have created a digital safety net. We subsidize stagnation, especially when you allow a 25-year-old man live in a room with no rent. What are you teaching your child? Are you really loving them? How can you love without the discipline? How can you love without giving them all the tools necessary to become resilient, to overcome challenges, to become solution-oriented, to be good to themselves, and to build dignity for themselves? We do this from a early age, trying to give everything to our kids, thinking that that is the answer. We all need to be challenged. If not, we fall into stagnation and comfort, and we always want to stay there because that's all we know. Think about what the no responsibility does. And especially today with unlimited high-speed internet, you're really not helping young adults. You're rotting them. You're not teaching them how to fly from their nest so they can create their own. You're giving them away to digging themselves in a hole. You are denying them the struggle, the suffering that builds ourselves and our identity. This is why when we don't discipline and we don't love, we create stagnation that could possibly create these mass shootings. And this is also a message to the schools. In school, it's all about compliance. It's not about solution orientation, critical thinking, imagination, creativity. We don't teach competency. We want everyone to be a winner. But as we all know, when you become an adult, not everyone wins. And there's different degrees of winning, depending on the work and how you prepare yourself. We are so focused on our school system of safetyism. Everyone has to be safe. How will you ever evolve if all you feel safe in only one place and one place only? According to the schools, we're protecting the kids from their feelings rather than creating resilience. What are we doing to our kids from a psychological perspective? How can they get psychological education if they are unable to explore the challenges of joy and suffering? We're seeing kids not being okay from starting from zero. We're starting to see kids that don't know what to do when they are bored and they feel entitled to always be entertained. And this is because we also have developed a strong phone addiction. We have removed the concept of redemption through work. We want the prize before putting the hard work. We want to win and not have the sour taste of failure. We want to grow without the sacrifice. Think about this. We have failed to teach dopamine management. Today is all about immediate gratification. And what does that do? It creates a homeostasis in your brain, making you addictive and expecting rewards with minimal effort. We do not teach them that boredom is not an enemy. It's a way of finding yourself and asking yourself philosophical questions, critical thinking, purpose, understanding, reflection. Boredom is a gateway to thought and to philosophize. We have let algorithms raise a generation of addicts, of people that cannot live with the tool because the tool manages them. Are we creating? Well, let me rephrase this question. What kind of leaders are we creating in the United States? And the question here is, how do we stop the bleeding? How can we start a great psychological program that prevents in the future these issues that we're facing today? That we ask ourselves, why did this happen? But the evidence is there. It happens because we have not prepared ourselves to prevent them from happening. We have to first rebuild friction. We need to transition from passive consumption to active contribution. There's a big difference. When you contribute to something you feel part of, when you consume, everything is given to you. We must build things, and it's better if we do it with one another. We must lift things so we can feel that carrying something brings its level of effort, but also pain, but also at the end of reward. And we must be okay with facing rejection. Not everyone has to say yes. It's okay to get the no's and rebuild yourself knowing that there was something you were missing when you face rejection. And how will we do that? We need exposure therapy, lots of exposure therapy. And exposure therapy, you don't get it just by sitting in a psychologist's office. Therapists, we need to be more active about this, because if somebody comes in seeking help and they are afraid of the world, and now the office and the therapist becomes the safe network, how is that going to help them? How is that going to serve them in the outside world? Talking alone is not enough. There needs to be a human factor that guides them, mentors them, educates them as they're receiving therapy. We need to nurture all that we know, plus teach with examples how to create healthy boundaries, how to start investing in their identity more than their mask that they're wearing. What does self-love looks like? And how do you become disciplined, responsible for yourself, for your own outcomes? And the number one thing is fear. Fear should be used as a compass, not as something you need to always be running away from. We don't educate anyone on how to manage through fear. What to do when you get to that point where you're getting an anxiety attack. We have failed. And one of the things that social media has destroyed a lot of people, great individuals, is being okay with being average. You don't have to be the star. You don't have to be the smartest person in the room. It's okay to be average. If average means that you have peace of mind, that's the reward. Stop comparing yourself to others, especially in social media. You don't know what they're going through. You don't know the behind the curtains. They're just showing you what they want to show you. A mask, as Carl Jung calls it, that's all that you're seeing behind a screen, especially those that compare themselves, feeling entitled to live a lavish life and yet haven't worked or studied to get there. My message is it's okay to be average. But more importantly, if you are average, make sure that you are active, because this is going to make you feel great about yourself, that you tried, that you never gave up. And look what happened at Brown University, that perfectionist trap. It makes you think that you must be a god, perfect, or if not, you are nothing. And that's what we're teaching our kids. And that's what phone addiction is doing. What are you doing to overcome these challenges? How are you challenging your kids to not be stagnant and to fall victim into depression, anxiety, and other emotional disorders? What I'm trying to say is that we are facing a crisis of meaning, a crisis of purpose, a crisis of identity. See what's happening in today's world with the ICE raids. If that doesn't demonstrate that we have a lack of identity because we're targeting even those that legitimately are U.S. citizens, shouldn't federal agents be protecting us? But this is all because we do not know how to manage fear, and we make radical decisions without analyzing all the possible consequences. And the American dream is dead for the lazy. You can't have an American dream and be lazy at the same time. You got to work 2, 3, 4 times harder than anyone else, because you have to outcompete those that are competing for the dream you're trying to reach, because they also have a dream. The question is, how hard are you working for that American dream? The American dream is only alive for the builders, for the one that takes risks, for the ones that after failing, they get back up and they repurpose themselves. The ones that are okay with not being perfect. The ones that are okay with being vulnerable. The ones that will take whatever it takes to be active and keep going forward. If we really want to stop violence, if we really want crime to go down, if we want to see better leaders making better decisions at the White House, at your local council hall, we must stop the stagnation crisis. We must stop those that we love, that we see they're being lazy. Anxiety and depression hates a busy mind. And if you're stagnant, you're a victim of these two things. Easily kidnapped by them and put in their cells for the endless cycle of pain and suffering. We must invite our young men back into the tribe of knowing that sacrifice, hard work, dedication, discipline, organization is the key, not for a perfect life, but for peace of mind. Be happy with the little that you have, or the much that you have. Be happy with anything and everything that happens to you. Because the question you should ask yourself is, what is it that you learned? That you become more wise? And what is that wisdom going to do for you and those that you love? Because now you're able to protect those with that wisdom. We got to stop inviting our young men like they're just a guest that just come in and then, something you're not worthy. No, stay with them. Be patient. Build them up. Building up means that you're mentoring all the way. When they go down, you go down with them. You meet them where they are and have them earn their place as you're mentoring. A life without consequences. And consequences are good and bad. A life without that. Think about how would that affect your morals and your ethics and your values if there was never a consequence of what your actions do. And I want to leave you with a question that I hope you leave a comment. If you died today, would your life be about what you built or what you consumed? I leave you with that. Don't forget to subscribe to the Ethics Guild podcast. And it's time to wake up. America, we can do it. Until next time. Bye.